You can enter, but you won't leave the same day. That's what the old man told them at the gas station. Jared laughed it off. Luis kept staring at the road that disappeared into the fog, thinking about how serious the man's eyes had been. The place wasn't even on Google Maps anymore, just a thin thread of dirt road with a barely legible sign, Dallow Farm. They parked a mile out. The fence was broken in half and covered in vines. As they climbed it, Jared grinned, like this was some game. Luis held his camera up, narrating into the lens, calling it a rural exploration. He mentioned how many people had gone missing since the 80s. People walked in, but their cars stayed parked outside, for months, for years. The house stood at the center of overgrown farmland, untouched by time, or maybe too touched by it. Peeling wood, shattered windows, a sagging roof, all wrapped in a silence so deep it felt alive. But when they pushed open the front door, everything changed. Inside was clean, not just clean, lived in. A couch with fresh cushions, a lit fireplace, hardwood floors polished to a shine. A digital clock on the wall blinked 12-hour. A vase of bright red roses sat on a table, still wet from water. The air smelled like cinnamon. Luis lowered the camera. This isn't right. Then came a sound upstairs. A soft musical laugh, like a woman humming through her teeth. They called out. No answer. Jared walked into the hallway, stopping to examine a framed photo. The glass was dusty. He wiped it off and froze. The image showed a young couple smiling in front of the very same house. But as he stared, the faces changed. They morphed until it was him and Luis, standing exactly where they stood now. Luis snatched the frame from him. The image had already shifted back to the original couple. They turned to leave. But when they stepped outside, something was wrong. The sun was low, too low. Their car looked older, rusted. Weeds wrapped around the tires. Jared's phone had no signal. Luis's said 38 missed calls from his mom. The date read October 23. They had arrived on September 15. They'd only been inside an hour. Jared tried to rationalize it. Maybe the phone glitched. Maybe they passed out. Maybe someone was messing with them. But Luis pulled up the news on his cracked screen. A flash flood had hit their city. A funeral for someone they knew had already happened. The world had moved on. They ran back inside, desperate for answers. But the house looked different now. Dim, walls stained with mold. The ceiling sagged. The fireplace was cold and blackened. The clock still blinked 12 blin. They tried to keep track of time. Stayed inside for 15 minutes, went back out. 2 weeks had passed. Birds that had been nesting were gone. Leaves that had been green were now dead and scattered. Their car was gone, towed or stolen. Panic set in. They tried to leave for good, hiked miles down the road. But after walking for what felt like forever, they found themselves back in front of the house, like the world had looped in on itself. Luis cried. Jared just sat on the porch staring at the woods, silent. Then they started to change. Jared's hair began graying at the sides, his hands shook. Luis, meanwhile, felt lighter. His acne came back, his voice cracked again. One morning he found a baby tooth in his mouth, loose, bleeding. The house wasn't just bending time, it was playing with it. Behind a loose brick in the wall, they found a journal, written in trembling, old-fashioned cursive, signed Eliza Dallow. She talked about the house like it was alive, a protector, a prison. She wrote about watching her husband age and rot while she stayed the same. Her children grew old and stopped recognizing her. One had run into the woods and never returned. The house, she said, let her relive better moments. She started choosing it, then needing it. Leading. Some days I wake up 10 years younger. Other days, I'm so old I can't move until the house resets me. One final line stood out, written in thick, smudged ink. It all my fault, but the ink shifted, warped, as if still alive. The words reshaped into, I am still alive, in the next chained door. The key to the door is in the kitchen. Louise dropped the journal like it was on fire. "I'm done," he said, trembling. "I want out." He begged Jared to leave with him, even if the outside world was unrecognizable, even if decades had passed. But Jared wasn't ready. He was staring at the kitchen. He found the key and the door. He unlocked it. Louise pleaded, "Don't do this, please." Jared said he'd heard her voice. She promised I wouldn't have to lose anything anymore. The room behind the door was pitch black, cold, full of whispers. Louise snapped. He tried to drag Jared away by force, but the walls shifted. Hallways stretched into miles. Doors multiplied. Windows showed different timelines: night, snow, Louis alone in the woods, Louis crying. He wandered for 6 hours, trying to find the exit. Then he saw daylight. As Louis stepped outside, something grabbed him. Jared. But it wasn't Jared anymore. His eyes were wrong. His voice sounded distant, hollow. "I couldn't stay alone in there," he whispered. "I've decided to follow you." Then he stabbed Louis twice in the stomach and left him bleeding on the roadside. Louis survived. He was found by a passerby, rushed to a hospital. When he woke up, the world had changed. The farm had been demolished, the land sold. A new apartment complex stood where the house once did. He had been gone for 100 years, and Jared, still inside, still with her. Eliza Dallow, the witch who watched her family fade while she stayed, who traded time for power, who tormented 5 visitors years ago. Only 2 escaped, and they died months later. Now she has Jared. Now he belongs to the house. Soon someone else will come, and the clock will still blink. 12 Fries. But before you go, if you ever see a road that disappears into the fog, if the map stops tracking and the house looks too quiet, don't go in, because you may enter, but you won't leave the same day. Like true horror, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next story. Someone else just disappeared. We're telling that one next. Drop a comment. Would you have left Louise behind or stayed with Jared?